Hola, buenas tardes. Welcome to En Casa con la Plaza. Dan Guerrero happy hour on a wonderfully warm Thursday night, middle of July. Of course, it's summer. What else can we expect? Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight on En Casa con la Plaza Dan Guerrero happy hour with this special guest. Thanks to our sponsors, Kaiser Permanente and Union Pacific Foundation. As you know, En Casa con la Plaza is our virtual programming. We've been doing this since 2020 of April. And Dan Guerrero himself has done more than almost 100 sessions with some incredible guests, and we have a great one tonight as well. So before we get started, just want to give you a heads up of what's going on at La Plaza. Lots going on. It's summer time, of course, a lot of outdoor activities. Tomorrow, our second Summer of Salsa session with Conjunto Afro Son with Super DJ Robbie. If you didn't make it to our first one, you have another chance. It's an outdoor stage, a dance floor, seating, of course. You could bring your own chairs, your own blankets. We have our La Plaza Cantina, so you could get your adult bevs and dance the night away. Doors open at 6, and music, live music from 8 to about 10, and then Super DJ Robbie in between. So come on down. On Saturday, an incredibly special event, and we'll talk a little bit more about it with Dan, but it's Gloria Molina's Celebration of Life, and that's on Saturday, July 15th. And then next Saturday, Noche de the 90s Backyard Sing-Along and Dance Party with Mary Velasco and friends. There'll be a live band, there'll be a DJ playing all the hits of the 90s that you remember, from Selena to Nirvana to Mariah. Some incredible music, a dance floor. We'll be serving apple martinis and Cosmos. It'll be a great show. But all this information is on our website at lapca.org and on our Facebook page as well. I'm going to get started with the program. Let's bring on the man of the hour, Dan Guerrero. Please zoom in, Dan.
What a swinging place, La Plaza. Wow. Latina Cantina. You're really gone to hell with yourself.
We got a lot going on.
It's amazing. It really is. The programming is so fantastic. And mostly everything, I think, is free, which is an incredible thing. That beautiful space doing such exciting and interesting things, yes. But nothing maybe as wonderful as we're seeing on Saturday, correct?
That's right. Here, I'm going to put up the little display here of the Celebration of Life for Gloria Molina. So let's talk a little bit about it. I think you're going to be part of it, aren't you, Dan?
I'm very honored to be a co-MC along with Laura Villas, a major, of course, news anchor here in LA with 14 Emmys under her belt. Hello. So we're going to be emceeing this outdoor event. Starts at 5, I think, right?
That's right. Doors open at 4:45. The musical performance by Mariachi Sol de Mexico with Jose Hernandez. We'll have another performance by Mary Velasco and friends. We have lots of people generously giving of their time to talk about and pay respects to Gloria Molina, including her daughter, Hilda Solis, the supervisor.
I think Villaraigosa speaking. So it'll be a mix of some speeches, but obviously we know about Gloria's political life, but it's a look at Gloria herself as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother. So it will be very personal. She was very loved by many, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. It's going to be a great event, and she was very clear, as we know, that she didn't want us to be sad. She wanted us to celebrate the life that she had, because she was grateful for it, and she was not sad herself. So it'll be a bittersweet afternoon, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So
well,
come on out, and it's free, right?
That's right, it's free, and then free food while supplies last. We'll have 4 food trucks out there. So show up at doors open at 4:45. The program itself starts about 5:20 with music, and then about at 5 o'clock with the music, and then at 5:20, Dan and Laura come on and get the program going.
Yeah, It's going to be, and I think it's being live streamed, isn't it?
Right, we're live streaming it on here on Facebook and also on our YouTube channel, both at La Plaza LA. All right, Dan. Well, I'm out of here. I'm gonna leave you.
Wait. I wanted to ask how. No, okay.
Go ahead.
We have a very great guest. So yeah. So I'll see you in a little bit. And you didn't even notice that I'm a little froggy here. You didn't care.
Yeah, no. I always care, Dan. I care deeply.
It doesn't hurt. It was just an event where I was doing a lot of yelling. So anyway, I'll see you in a bit. Okay. Well, my guest tonight, I'm very excited as I am about all my guests, but she is the founding artistic director of Danza Floricanto USA. She's had, she's devoted her career and her life really to celebrating, illuminating her Mexican and Mexican-American heritage. Wow, she's already here. I didn't even introduce her. Well, okay, what the hell? Come on in. You want to put your audio on?
I think it's on.
There you are. Well,
Yeah.
I was in the middle of this flowery introduction saying how fabulous you are. Well, you lost out. You lost out. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. And thank you for the invitation.
I'm so happy to see you here. And I want to salute your nearly 50 years. That's amazing. You look like a teenager, my friend.
Thank you so much.
I salute you. We were actually, since we're very informal here, before when we were checking picture and all that, you and I got talking and we were already having a very interesting conversation. But one of them was about 50-year career here, about reinventing yourself and especially as a dancer, a dancer does have a shelf life. So
Yes.
What do they do after they can't dance and to stay relevant and to reinvent yourself? Which you've done beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As I said to you before, it's not, in my case, it's not really a reinvention, but rather an affirmation of what I've been doing all along. And actually finally finding the audiences that want to see that kind of work that we do.
We talked about what I call the curse of the visionary, where
Yes.
we see things too soon and you're like, when's everyone going to, because truly you've been doing this a long time. But anyway, we are going to talk, of course, about your long and celebrated career and also about your rattling a few folklorico cages to get the Chicano experience in there. We're going to get there for sure. But I wanted to go back to really the beginning for you when you were still learning here in LA, the skills and the art of folkloric dance. We're talking the 60s, which was a very tumultuous time for Chicanos in Los Angeles. And of all things, folklorico dance became a political statement because of one high school teacher.
Yeah, Sal Castro, God bless him, was the instigator of the folkloricos in Los Angeles. If you want to say who was the godfather of folklorico, that's not what he wanted to do, but that's exactly what he did when he asked of the Board of Education of Los Angeles to allow a folklorico to be part of every high school in Los Angeles. He didn't quite manage that, but he managed all the East Side schools, high schools, junior highs, and even elementaries. And although not much of that remains today, folkloricos are everywhere now. So the fact that they are not in the schools is really not that important as it was then.
Well, the interesting thing is you said he asked, he probably didn't so much ask as demand.
You got
I
that.
would think. Yeah. Demand.
Yeah.
Well, how did you, as a young woman who you just wanted to do your dance, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of this political turmoil, how did that affect you?
At Cal State, there was a demonstration about something every other day. You could just see all kinds of things going on. And that's where I was going to school. I was walking past the PE building and I heard Mexican music. I thought, that just doesn't happen in Cal State, LA. So not in the 60s. So I walked over there and there was a Mexican folk dance class being taught by Emilio Pulido, who was at that time, if you can believe it, taught all the folkloricos from San Diego to Santa Barbara within a week's time. He would travel back and forth because
Wow.
he was the only one. There was at UCLA, at UC Santa Barbara, Cal State Los Angeles. I think there was Long Beach too, and I think there was Northridge as well. And he just did that every single week, back and forth. And it was inevitable that at some point we would cross-pollinate the two things. Mechas were being born everywhere. And as a matter of fact, when they came to ask us to dance for one of their demonstrations, we were told if we wanted to dance our way through the revolution. And it was meant as an insult. And I thought to myself, that sounds as good as anything else. You know, I can dance my way through the revolution very well. And so we began to be part of the programming for these walkouts and protests and what have you. And at that time it was folklóricos because that's all we knew how to do. So yeah, we danced in many protests.
Wow. Now, I know you were born in Mexico, but
Yes.
you were raised here in Los Angeles. So where were you born and how young or old were you when you came here?
I was born in Mexico City, Mexico, very near La Basílica de Guadalupe in the colonia known as La Linda Vista. And I came when I was 11 years old. That was the first time that Mexico experienced its first big devaluation and jobs were lost and all. Not as big as the second one, but big enough that my parents felt that there was no more future for them and just put us all in the car and off we came to California because my grandparents lived here in California. So at 11 years old, I came and I stayed.
So 11, you're old enough to remember it vividly. And I mean, it had to be, was it a major culture clash for you to suddenly be here?
Totally. We came to Orange County.
Oh my God. That's where Gustavo Arellano grew up.
Yeah, yeah, and not an easy place to be in the 60s. When I first went to school, I noticed I was in the ESL class. And the thing that I noticed about the ESL class is that none of the children there really were Mexican born. They just did not really speak English. They were not given the opportunity to learn how to speak English. So my sense of self and my sense of righteousness was being jarred from the very beginning. And in terms of what I felt was proper and what I felt was right. And then about 7 months later, my father got a job at a place called the Clark Hotel. He was a bellman there. And so we moved to Los Angeles and I landed in a Catholic school. It saved my life because the nuns really don't care what you look like. They teach across the board, you know. So all of a sudden I learned how to speak English, how to write, how to read, and how to be a full citizen in a place that I didn't really understand.
And to feel worthy,
Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm quite sure many of those classes, the ESL classes, they kind of made you feel like you weren't smart. You know, just because you didn't speak the language, it wasn't that you didn't speak the language, it's that you weren't smart.
Yeah, that was the assumption, I think, on every part. I learned how to read at first because there was this gentleman, his name was Mr. Hill. He was the English teacher, and he would tape every night a couple of chapters of Treasure Island. And then he would put earphones on us. And so I didn't know how to speak English totally, but I remember yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. And so then I would go home and ask my father, what is a bottle of rum?
Isn't that funny how something like that can stick with you? Something very just a throwaway, and here all these years later is still it's in your memory.
Yeah, well, it was memorable.
Rum is always memorable. Now, I read it's interesting because I thought maybe you arrived from Mexico already loving folklorico dance, but it's not like you arrived with that. You more discovered it here?
Yeah, I went to a couple of classes in Mexico, but it was, they have this thing called El Seguro Social in there. You go learn how to decorate cakes, how to cook. And so I went with a girlfriend who was going to get married to the Seguro Social, but across the way I heard Mexican music. So I told her, you go to that class and I'll go to this class. And so I went over to the dance class, but that was maybe 6 months before we left. So that was everything I ever got there, but I really got a taste of it in that way. And I loved it. I loved moving to music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that hits you and that's it.
yeah.
You're meat. It's set.
Yeah.
It's set. I found a very interesting quote from you. I always like to quote my guests, and they always panic because you don't know what the hell you said 5 years ago, 10 or 12. No, but it's very interesting, I think. You and actually it was how you described folk dance, and I don't think you meant only Mexican. I think you meant folk dance.
Yeah.
And here's what you said. Folk dance was putting your best foot forward, happy people from happy places, and nothing wrong with that. Except in your case, it wasn't enough because you felt it was an incomplete story. It wasn't just that we're all happy with our little costumes carrying on.
Yeah. When folk dance came to the United States through Bayanihan from the Philippines and the Russian Moiseyev kind of thing that he brought in, they were travelogues. They were designed to have people look at them and want to go to visit these places. And so they were true travelogues in the sense of they were the best idea. You know, I'm going to go on my vacation this year to Russia or to the Philippines. And they functioned really well for a long time, except that and so when Amalia Hernandez came, she was the first travelogue that I saw that connected with me in that way. And we loved it. We used to all go see her and try to imitate everything she did and try to, we really figured out that the way to do that was you had to have thousands of cast members and just you went on that stage and you all really put your soul, your heart and soul in it. And I think we were partially right, but we are not travelogues. We are here and we're never going to go away. And that was my problem with it as soon as I really began to think about it, because we are not travelogues of East LA or the Valley or Riverside. We are trying to imitate the mother country where most of us are never going to go back to. So it's not complete. It's not our complete story. And I guess that was my issue when I came to it.
It was fluff and you wanted more gravitas. You wanted to really tell our story. Well, now you created your first dance company very early, not long after Cal State, Floricanto. I guess that was the mid-70s. But at first it was specifically traditional Mexican folkloric at that time, right?
Yeah, well, every year we have an after-school program, our Little Tiny Tots and Children's program, and that one is still strictly folklorico. All the children that come through us learn how to dance folklorico because the vocabulary that we use for the things that we do later on is folklorico. So they are in a way learning how to decode and encode in the language that they're going to speak later on. So we've never stopped dancing folklorico, and we do 2 folklorico shows a year. The Cinco de Mayo show, you know, is pure folklorico, mariachi music and the whole thing. And the Navidad show, also a folklorico show. And all the dancers love those 2 shows. There is so much to love about folklorico that it is difficult to say I have left it forever for a new something, because what I am is really closely tied up to all of that in a way.
Well, you're giving the kids the foundation. It's like every generation of musicians, let's say, they'll take salsa, but they'll give it a bit of a twist. You know, they'll take Mexican music, give it a twist, but you can't do that until you have the foundation. You got to have the foundation, then you can go out from there. Now, when you first started introducing the Chicano experience, I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing there must have been some resistance. I mean, were there dancers that feel you were like, messing with something sacred, or how was there resistance from dancers and even from audiences when you first presented a Chicano experience?
Yeah, they dancers have always been very respectful to teachers, as you know, from that back. And they would say to me, Miss Sandoval, I love you, and we always love you, but that's not my thing. And so they would try it a little bit, and they would go on to dance for other folklorico companies that were doing something a lot. That has always gone on to a certain extent, much less now. Those that come to me really enjoy being part of something that they can connect with in a very different way. It is not about happy people and happy places, as I said before. It is about expressing who you are, what your community really looks like, and not being ashamed of it, which is the bigger thing, I think, actually being proud of it. But there's always been that thing. Audiences, I'm sure there have been that. They have always been very nice. They've never told me. I've gotten more flack from other folklorico teachers than from the audiences. The audiences, as far as I can tell, were always accepting and loving of what we did for them. Maybe when they went home and they said, what the hell was you doing? But they didn't.
But when they were there, they were applauding and smiling.
Absolutely. And over time, we have actually developed audiences that look for that kind of work from us. I don't see them during our more traditional shows, and I see them all there when we are doing our more adventurous Chicano work. So
and we're going to go deep into that. And by the way, I do salute you for that, my friend. For that. You said something very interesting in that last bit, where you said dancers are very respectful of their teachers. And that is so true. I spent 20 years in New York in the Broadway world, and, dancers, their choreographer is God. That is it. They're more than respectful. They really look up to them, unlike voice teachers or acting teachers. Some people get that, but dancers, they'll, if a choreographer tells them to jump into fire, they will do that.
It is true. It is true. And that has served me very well, because sometimes I myself don't know where I'm going. I look at the choreographers and they say, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, blah, blah. No. And many times the movement I propose and that I have had in my head doesn't look the way that I wanted it to look. But always, as I'm doing it, I think of a version that will work better. And so to work with me is really, I think, very tiring, because we do the movement in various permutations until it fits the vision, and I'm grateful for dancers who can do that, because they trust you. Whatever it is that you say, we're going to go that way, that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah.
So
there was a choreographer on Broadway that I shall not name, but she was forever up on charges at Equity because now climb that fence and then do 2 leaps and land in a split. They were always being injured, but dancers being, as we say, so they would do whatever they were asked, so I just find that an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some specific pieces you've done, but before we do, our mutual amiga Deborah Pavia, a major Chicana cultural force herself, shared with me something you wrote that I'd like you to elaborate on. It doesn't matter where you wrote it or for, but for me, it just succinctly and perfectly described what you do with your Chicano theme programming. You said these works use the vocabulary of Mexican folklore applied to the current realities of my American experience, and I call this Chicano dance. That says it all.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That says it all so succinctly.
Yeah, that's it. I think that the beauty of Mexico is overwhelming. As expressed in the dances, it's totally overwhelming. but it is not our reality. We live a totally different thing. And therefore, it doesn't completely validate us, because in order to be validated, you need to acknowledge where you are and what you do in this place. And you need to feel good about that. And that's the part that I think that we're missing with Mexican folk dance, because we are not in the mother country, and many of us will never experience that joy that comes from being in a place where you all speak the same language and you all think the same way. And so there is unity in that, and there's real strength in that.
Yes, yes.
But it is not unattainable if you apply it to your own circumstances wherever you are, you know? And so I think that what we do in dancing as Chicanos, we validate where we are, which is the whole point of doing any kind of artwork, isn't it? To validate ourselves through our work.
That's right. Who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are those forces that sometimes don't like us to do that.
Oh yeah, I will tell you that. I lost my agents when I went this way. No names, and it wasn't that they were mean or anything, just couldn't find an audience for me.
Because you were too far ahead of your time. We talked about that.
Oh,
we talked
thank
about
you
the
for saying a nice way of talking.
yeah, the curse of the visionary.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the pieces you've done, which are quite incredible. Contemporary Chicano works. You did a piece about Cesar Chavez, and a cappella work about the paramilitary youth group, the Brown Berets. A cappella. How did you do that? I mean, no music whatsoever.
Well, that was a collaboration with this wonderful modern dance choreographer. Her name is Loretta Livingston. And I've grown through other artists a great deal. I would have never thought of doing a cappella because music is so ingrained, mariachi music, whatever.
Sure.
Music. And so, and then I learned how to count in space rather than to a beat. I learned how to do, what are they called? Canons, repeated work coming in at different times, the same thing. That was such aha moments for me, because I would have never, it's 50 couples and they all do the same thing. That's what you do. And so coming in at different times with the same beat, variations of that, they are most appreciated, I think, when you do a cappella. That's when they really, really work. And so these young people at that time, these Brown Berets, they were doing something so off the books. I don't think they understood that they were being watched by FBI and all kinds of other people, because they were making the world very uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
But what they were doing was footwork being loudly heard. So I thought it was the proper thing to use for something like that. The dancers, my dancers, different generations of them, every time we say we're going to do the guards again, they just love it, because it's a challenge to learn how to work without music and to learn how to read each other so that they can move in unison. And in the end, to make the audience feel what the audience feels when they see this happen.
It's an entire different way to look at dance, obviously.
Yeah.
I directed something for the LA Opera once, and I was stunned that I wasn't working from a script. I was working from sheet music. And thank God for the stage manager, because I would have been lost. I mean, it's a completely different world, I love a cappella of any kind. And you also worked with our good friends Quetzal, Fandango Without Borders. And this title I love. I want to hear about Un Zapateado Chicano. Love that title.
I was working with this then young man, now just a man. His name is Cesar Castro. He's the one that came down when I came from Veracruz after having spent 2 months there, and I did not understand what I had learned. I had tapes and notebooks, and I did not understand the rhythm implications of what I had just learned. So Quetzal said to me, there's this young man that is looking for a new thing in life. His name is Cesar Castro. Bring him over so he can teach you. And so for a year, he came down and taught me how to understand syncopation in music, because there's no such thing as syncopation in Mexican folk dance. There just is not. Everything is very square and very 4s, 8s, 12s, 16s, 32s even, but no and in the music, you know? And so when I used to hear and one, and two, where do they put the and, for God's sakes? And it finally dawned on me that it was in between the notes. And that one, my dancers learned it a lot sooner. The younger you learn it, the easier it is to learn. But I, at that time, already had 30 years of dancing. It was one of the most difficult journeys I have ever taken, because I had to unlearn all that to begin to learn syncopation. And I really want to thank Quetzal for taking me to that world, because I finally understood the world of rhythm and blues and all those other things that are connected to us, but not via mariachi, but rather via the cuatros and the various African connections that we have in our culture.
That is, I never stopped to think about it. That's right. There's no syncopation. And
Nope.
well, the breath between the notes is like a beat for an actor between words.
Yes.
You know, that beat in between is as
Yeah.
powerful as the word you just used before.
It is much more powerful, I think, because it is an unanticipated by the audience. And so when you are giving it to them in sound, it's the same as when you're giving them to them in acting. They always say, you know,
Yeah.
it's because they didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of that.
And that's the beauty of surprising an audience, surprising them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like in the middle of a serious scene and you throw in a laugh and they're like, they're caught off guard. That's the best.
Very, very much the same thing like that. And so I think Chicano dance, I've seen some versions of something like that also in the Bay Area, is very much rooted in our African connection. And so it's, my version was one of the first ones. So that's why it was un zapateado, because there were going to come many more zapateados. And so it made sense that it would be uno.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We actually have a short clip of a more recent work that illustrates how you continue to explore contemporary Chicano themes. This is from Immigrant Stories.
Okay.
And we'll look at it and then we'll chat.
Okay.
That powerful moment when the little boy wants to get to his mother and she throws him back because she wants him to stay here.
It's more common than you think.
Oh, I know. That's why it's so powerful. It's too common to separate the children from,
Yeah, that was my daughter.
Yes.
She's the obvious heir apparent to the company and to the organization. In already showing her medal there in the piece that she created. The music in Veracruz is never, how shall I say, original. It's always versions of something else, and it just reinvents itself all the time. But the words are hers, and the dancing you saw is exactly what I was talking about in terms of syncopated dancing. It doesn't go exactly with the beat, but it complements the beat, if you will.
And you're bringing up your daughter, and you have cemented your legacy with this. It's a family affair. Your husband Frank has been supportive your whole career in life, and helps with costumes and does everything. and your daughter and your granddaughter. Yeah,
right? All these it's the law of unintended consequences, I think, in some ways. My husband was a school principal in the LA Unified, and then, but always helped with costumes in whichever way he could on the weekends when we were busy doing Floricanto things. And then, so when he retired, he just kind of gave himself up to this thing all the time. So retired is not what he has been for the last 12 years or so. And Christy, my daughter, started dancing with me since she was maybe 14. And before that, I used to take her to rehearsal because there was no way to have a babysitter. That was too out of the question. And so she started dancing with me since she was very young. And then she was the one that taught the after school program. And now when I am not really able to take care of the day-to-day, she's the executive director of the space, if you will. For the most part, takes care of a lot of the work, of the artistic work that has already been created. She does rehearsals and she does all the stuff that needs to be done for that. And it's just as well because I'm 77, and so you understand that. In my mind, I'm as fast as I want to be, but my body, my body doesn't do that well anymore in that way.
You're still a young woman. You're still a young woman, and your granddaughter Mimi, she lives in New York, right? She works at Lincoln Center.
Yeah. She had been dancing with us all along, and so she keeps coming back so that she trains some of the dancers in the pieces that she was the key person in there, and has been very willing for the past, I guess, year and a half to do that. She comes at least once a month. And then the day of the performance, she comes to do what she's going to do. And she's tailoring back because the idea is she wants to live in New York.
Yeah. Once you get that New York bug, that New York bug.
Yeah. So, she helps, I think, in this case, not so much me, but her mom. She understands the issue of legacy. And the reality of it is that if you have an institution in a community of color, there's a family issue there, a family involved. There's no other way you can handle all the things that need to be done to make an institution. And so Lula, Washington, family institution. Kayamanan and Lahi, the Filipino dance group, family institution. So we are the other family institution.
You're the familia institution. You're the familia institution.
Yeah, familia institution. But it's a pattern.
And they're very much involved because I know you're working on a reprisal of the wonderful piece you did, inspired by Bless Me Ultima, the beautiful novel by Anaya. And we have a photo there, and I think this is more family, you know? Nope.
The owl is Mimi, my granddaughter.
Right.
And Ultima is Christy. And we just did finish it this past weekend.
Oh.
And it was wonderful. And what we did to Rudy and I's work is we made the little boy a little girl, because we thought that it was important in this day and age that little girls also have a rite of passage and also are allowed to be important in the Latino Chicano community. That's a big issue. We don't even know we do that to our little girls. It is just the expectations that we have. We expect them to be really smart in school and to do everything they're supposed to do, to be flawless, if you will. But then Prince Charming comes in and boop, drop everything. Now you're going to be a good wife. And that's not the reality of life. So we thought we would put in our little small bit by making Antonia. And that's the only change we made, because everything else that Rudy and I said about this little boy was true about a little girl. She too had her rites of passage coming along all the same way. And I think it's important that we are aware that our little girls are not going to be in the same world that we grew up in. Just not.
For sure. For sure. For sure.
And so it was very successful. And I thought I was going to get some, blowback, because for this kind of thing, families went. We had 2 sold out nights, and all we got was compliments. Maybe they didn't see through that, or maybe not all of them had read Bless Mi Última. But the thing was, they were all very proud of the little girl that performed and of the things that she was able to accomplish. So I'm pleased.
And actually, it's not relevant at all if they knew the book. It doesn't matter. They're dealing with what they're seeing there in that story. And I know you choreographed it and created the piece very much in line with the beats in the novel. That was a bit of a different experience for you.
Yeah, that was real soul searching going on, because I had to make decisions as to what were the important things that Rudy was trying to bring across. But the other thing is that I had to portray them through dance. I had never done that before. If you have an idea about dance and it's yours, then you go ahead and you bring it to life. But this was actual scenes that meant something, that were meant to convey an action movement or words. And so that was really tough. But we did it.
So you're still challenging yourself and still learning, right?
Oh God, yeah.
That's important. That's important. We have to keep learning and challenging and what's new. And you can't just be a robot, although artificial intelligence is trying to do that. Let's talk about this next generation of dancers, because with your Floricanto Center, I have this lovely photo of some of your young students. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God, you just want to, they're so adorable. Yeah. And they start so young. You have a tiny tots class.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about the tiny tots, because that's Christy's dream. She's always wanted to do little children. And so she is the one that started that class. And now she's got 3 teachers there teaching the tiny tots. And it really does produce some magical moments, because what children need is discipline without knowing they are getting discipline. And what we as parents do is give them everything we think they want. And many times that is not discipline. But dance is just that. It is learning how to follow directions and learning how to be part of a group. There isn't a better lesson than a child can get than that. And so we start them at 4 years old.
And those skills, if they never dance a step again, those skills they will use their entire life. It's a
great beginning for that. Matter of fact, my dancers today are all of them part of the Floricanto Institute at some point. They are now teachers in the Institute and dancers in the company, but they started out little kids like that.
I love that young people who are busy with their devices and listening to whatever the contemporary music is, they still want to preserve and enjoy their culture, of their parents and their grandparents. It's like the kids at the neighborhood music school, the musicians, the kids there, they're wearing their charro outfits and they go out and they dance to Beyonce. I mean, it's wonderful that they care about it, because some kids would not be interested at all.
Yeah, I think that's the universality of music and dance. I don't know that they know that they're doing Mexican folk dance, but they know that they are moving to the beat and they love that. And it is a little later on that they understand the connection. Their parents, when they watch them, they understand that connection, but the children love the movement and they love the sound. And they also love the fact that they are able to do it and people applaud them for it. It's a new experience for them to go on stage and to actually be applauded for something they did, not because they're kids, but because something they did. And they are choreographed, their parents are not allowed to interact with them until after they are done with their little performance. And the parents bring them in all combed and everything, but they go in and they dress themselves and they get themselves all ready and they wait for their cue and then they go on stage. All this is a learning experience that they don't understand in its totality, but they really like the results of it. So at that point, that's all they need,
It's instant gratification.
Instant gratification is so hard to get when you're doing something good.
Ain't that the truth? Some of us are still waiting.
Yeah.
You're working on a new piece called Mujer, Ayer, Hoy y Siempre that I believe is going to premiere as at your fundraising event here. Tell us about this piece.
I got a fellowship award from the Dance USA organization. And this was the first time that we received national recognition for anything that we ever did. So there's that. And then the piece itself is something that I felt was needed when I began to understand that what I think and the things that make me think that are not even close to what my daughter thinks, and are even so much further than what my granddaughter thinks. Mm-hmm. Although basically we all have the same Mexican Judeo-Christian kind of background. It all has been translating differently through the generations. And so I thought that was so very interesting, in some level painful, because I at some point, it makes you feel sort of out of touch with the next generation, because you don't know how they came to that conclusion based on what you have been teaching them. And so these dance process that we are creating is a little bit about that. It's about recognizing where I come from, seeing where that brought Christy to this other plane that I don't fully get. And it really translates in a so very different way in the next generation. But I think uniting factor is that we are women today, yesterday, tomorrow. And so we're looking for those things that will unify us throughout time. And so that's what we're trying to work on now.
And the generational thing is so fast these days. I mean, every time you turn around, it's like, it's just incredible.
Yep. Even getting on Zoom with you today I was saying to myself, yay, I did it by myself.
I'm a big girl. Abelardo, can we show that last one again? Because it is a fundraising event, September 28th? September 23rd.
Yes.
At your Floricanto Center, which is in Boyle Heights, right?
Yes. It's the old Casa del Mexicano on Pedro Infante Street.
Uh-huh.
And you can't miss it because it looks like a mini White House.
Ah.
It's the one with the domed ceiling. And if you're going down Euclid Avenue, first of all, the street Pedro Infante is like, what is that? And At the end of that cul-de-sac is this Casa del Mexicano that had been closed for about 30 years. And
Wow.
we were able to work with the group that owns it. And so we have now been there for 3 years and have made it hopefully a very vital part of the community.
You have, because it's become a community resource center, not just a dance company, and it's a very important thing. So, otra vez, I salute you, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
want to come and visit that place and come to the
Please do.
fundraiser.
Yes, please do. This is a cordial invitation to you and to all those who are watching us.
Fine. Abelardo, we could go on another hour, but I suspect we have to wrap. But do we have any questions going on there?
We don't have questions, but of course, you could always go more than an hour with the guests that you've been bringing on. But thank you so much for sharing your stories with us, Gema. That was incredible. I learned a lot myself. But we have some admirers here on Facebook. We have Arturo Rodriguez from Denver, presente.
Wow.
So he joined us today. Then Angie Gaspar Milanovic.
Oh yeah, Angie.
She little hearts. Dolores Chavez. We admire and respect you so much, Gema Sandoval.
Oh wow.
We admire Dolores too.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yolanda Gonzalez. Thank you, Gema, and the support you gave me early on in my art career. Love you, Gema, from Yolanda.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan. And I need to talk to you about the fundraiser.
Here, a couple more. We have Armando Duron. Time to go back. Time to go back to Floricanto, he says.
Oh, absolutely.
And Maria de Jesus just sends her love in a little heart.
Oh,
here on Facebook.
Wow.
And then Mahendra Giri just sends a little wave.
Okay. We accept waves.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And then Helene Trudeau here on Zoom says, you are an inspiration, Gema, signed Helene.
Yes, as all those early supporters, my God, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for reconnecting me.
Oh, I'm so happy you've been here and tonight. And as I say, you have a long celebrated career and you have a lot of years ahead of you. So I do thank you so much for joining us tonight. And there was something else and it went in and out of my head so fast, I was not able to hang on to it. So that happens sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was very lovely. I have seen your talks from time to time, and I've always thought they were so elegant. So thank you very much for that part of things, because it just makes one feel so uplifted.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. And the wonderful, that's what I was going to say, that this is archived forever. It is on YouTube, is in the archives at La Plaza. So it's really kind of, we're building an oral history visually of our community and our people that are so important in it. So thank you so much, Mija. I love you. And I'll see you in person soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abelardo. I'll see you Saturday.
We'll see you on Saturday. Yes, just to remind everybody that this Saturday, celebration of life in memoria de Gloria Molina. Doors open there at La Plaza at 4:30, 4:45. The program itself starts with a mariachi by Mariachi Sol de Mexico with Jose Hernandez, with a special featured singer Nancy Sanchez. We'll have we'll have Mary Alfaro Velasco and her friends as entertainment. We have speakers ranging from former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa to Valentina Martinez, Gloria's daughter, and her sister, Berta.
Hilda Solis,
yes, Margaret Garcia, our friend Richard Montoya, and Dan serving as the co-MC along with Laura Diaz. Free, please show up early. We have seats for everyone. We have food for everyone, while supplies last, of course. But yeah, you're welcome.
And Gloria, of course, was such a supporter of the arts, always.
Yes, she supported me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, founder of La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, along
Yes.
with founder of the East Side Arts Initiative, and so much more. So it's going to be, as Dan mentioned early at the top, it'll be a bittersweet event, but please join us. We look forward to it. And if you're not able to make it, we'll be streaming it on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA and on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA as well. And we'll be archiving it, and you can see it on our YouTube page for, whenever you have the opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us, Gema. Thanks as always, Dan, and we'll see you on Saturday, and hopefully, and maybe you can make it as well, Gema.
Thank you. Yes, planning to.
All right, mija. Well, see you there. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, pues muy buenas noches a todos out there that joined us either on Zoom or on Facebook Live. If you didn't catch this entire episode of Dan Guerrero Happy Hour, you could catch it on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA, along with the almost 100+ sessions, conversations that he's had with so many interesting and iconic friends of both Dan and of La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. So thanks for joining us. Thanks to Kaiser Permanente, Union Pacific Foundation. Catch everything that's going on our website, lapca.org, and on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA. Y con eso, pues muy buenas noches a todos. See you soon. Hopefully we'll see you on Saturday. If not, in a couple of weeks here on Dan Guerrero Happy Hour. Buenas noches. Bye.